Chapter 17. A Telltale Barn. Broken bricks and cement were scattered over the floor of the Hollister cellar. Among them lay a crowbar. Someone had entered the house when the family was away and had ripped the chimney apart. "Bo Stankel was here," Pete exclaimed. "While we were looking for him, he was right in our own house." "He got the treasure, too, I'll bet," Pam said. "Let's chase him and get it back," Ricky suggested. "We'll put Zip on his trail." They hurried into the backyard and untied Zip. How they wished they'd left him inside the house. "Zip," Pete said, unleashing the collie. "Get on Bo's trail, boy. Pick up his trail." First, he led Zip into the cellar and let him sniff about. The dog seemed to know what was wanted of him. Picking up a scent, he bounded outside, keeping his nose close to the ground. Pete, Pam, and Ricky followed Zip as he went across the lawn toward the street. The dog halted on the corner at the bus stop. Looking up at Pete, he barked, as if to say this was where the trail ended. "Bo Stankel must have escaped on a bus," Pam said. Now what'll we do?" Just then, another bus came into sight. It stopped at the corner, as the driver thought the Hollisters wanted a ride. Pete asked him when the last bus had stopped there. The man said about 15 minutes before. "Where does it go?" Pete said. "Over to Stony Point," replied the bus driver. After the children had told him about Bo Stankel, the man said, "If that other bus driver picked the fellow up, he'll tell you." With that, he drove the bus off. The children would have to wait half an hour. How slowly the time seemed to pass. The three children sat on the curb. Finally, a bus came into sight from the opposite direction. When they stopped it, the driver said yes. A man answering their description and carrying a box in his hands had boarded the bus at that corner more than an hour before. "Where did you let him off?" Pete asked excitedly. "On the other side of the lake," the man replied, "near Stony Point." When the driver described the place, the children knew immediately that it was near the spot where the little van had been robbed. They quickly thanked the man, then ran to their house to telephone Officer Cal. He became excited when Pete told him about the new clue. "I'll be right over in the police car," he said, and they went outside to wait for him. It was not long before they saw Cal's prowl car. The automobile skidded to a halt in the driveway, and the policeman jumped out. "We're seeing a lot of each other, aren't we?" he laughed. "Now, tell me again, where did you say Bo Stankel got off the bus?" After Pete described the place, Officer Newberry said, "I'll go there right away. Suppose you come with me." Eagerly, the three Hollisters climbed into the police car. The officer backed out of the drive and was soon humming along the shore road which led around the lake. It did not take long to reach the other side of the lake and find the side road. "Here's the place," Pete said, pointing. "This is right where the little van was robbed." Officer Cal stopped the car. He switched on his two-way radio and spoke to a sergeant at the police station, telling where he was and what he was doing. Then a voice came over the loudspeaker. "If you need any help, Cal, get in touch with us and we'll send another man out there." "Right, Sergeant." The children and the policeman hopped out of the prowl car. They quickly searched the roadside for footprints. Finally, Pete spied a man's heel mark in the dust. That was all Officer Cal needed. Being skillful at following footprints, he soon picked up others. The trail led through the thick bushes into the woods by the roadside. The officer said Bo Stankel evidently had run pell-mell. No doubt he was afraid someone might follow him. Finally, the tracks led to an open field some distance from the lakefront. "I see a barn over there," Ricky pointed. "Do you suppose Bo is in there?" "You're a good detective," Cal said. "That would be a likely place for a thief to hide." Carefully, the officer and the three children made their way through the tall grass toward the old barn. Upon reaching it, they found that the doors were locked. but a piece of board near the bottom of one of them had broken off. "Let me wiggle in and look around," Pete said. "Not until I know it's safe," Cal replied. He peered through the opening and flashed his light around. "There doesn't seem to be anybody in there. Go ahead, but shout a warning if you see anybody inside. I'll break the door down if necessary." Pete lay down flat and wiggled his head and shoulders through the hole. Then he pulled the rest of his body through. It was dark and gloomy inside. When the boy's eyes became accustomed to the dim light, he saw something which made him gasp. In one corner of the barn stood the rest of the stolen toys. Pete rammed the big double doors and lifted off the wooden bar that locked them. As the others rushed inside, he cried, "Our toys! Our lost toys! They're in here!" "How wonderful!" Pam cried, rushing over to open her desk with the collection of foreign dolls in it. Pete picked up roller skates, a sled, and a toboggan, happy to find them undamaged. Ricky was only interested in finding his father's missing suitcase. Meanwhile, Officer Cal was searching the barn, with the slim hope that Bo Stankel might be hiding in it. Presently, he climbed the ladder to the haymow and poked among the bales stored there. Shortly afterward, Pete looked up to see several barn swallows swoop through a hole in the roof. As he watched them, the boy suddenly saw a man climbing out of the hayloft window. "Hey, there's Bo Stankel," Pete shouted, "and he's getting away," he added as the thief dropped to the grass. At this point, the ground was on a higher level than at the front of the barn. Pete, Pam, and Ricky raced outside just as the man scrambled to his feet. Ricky grabbed his legs, while Pete and Pam each clung to an arm.